Welcome to the Ridgecrest Lost and Found podcast. My name is Logan.
I'm Stephen.
That was a great switch. And this is a podcast about just the random stuff that you find in a lost and found bucket, like those old sweatshirts from who knows how long, bottles of shampoo that a parent brought back from a D now that's now in there. The most incredible randomness that you could find in a lost and found bin. That is what this show is about. We're going to look at random stories, random games, random topics that seemingly make no sense. And in actuality, they don't. And we're going to bring it together at an incredible show just for you. So, Stephen, how do we feel?
I feel pretty good. Excited.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited. We just said the exact same thing. You said you're excited. It's going to be fun. I said fun. It's going to be exciting. Yikes. We're already on the same level. So I figured what we would do in this episode is just kind of introduce myself, you introduce yourself, and then we just kind of go into a little bit of a deep dive about how the show came about, what we kind of think about it being, what it could be in the future, and kind of go forward from there. So I guess I'll start off with myself. So my name's Logan. I am the student pastor at the church that is kind of powering this show, Ridgecrest Baptist Church in Madison, Mississippi. I'm the student pastor here. And Stephen will get into his role and his job in just a moment. But we've been a part of different podcasts and shows and different things as we've kind of been here. And we kind of had the thought of, what if we did something to generate excitement, to generate some attention, some content? One, because funny things are funny. Two, to hopefully kind of get people involved with our ministry from the interwebs. I'm going to try to bring that back, the word interwebs.
That's a tough sell.
That's a tough sell. So
I wish you the best of luck.
And so that was kind of the thinking. And because being the student pastor, I think fun things are fun. A lot of my students and their parents at this point, are on all of whatever you're watching this on. This and more is what everyone's on, whether it's Spotify, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Stitcher, Podbean, whatever you feel like. We're going to be on all of those things. And then hopefully the plan is to try to clip some things and to post funny content to the church's Instagram account, Facebook account, whatever, all the things. And so I'm pretty excited about doing some things, but let's move over to Stephen. Switch it.
I think a big part of this is just to be silly, just have a good time, because I feel like when we have this church sanctioned online content,
yes,
it's usually just very either mission focused or content focused, and
the content in like a devotional,
right, and we don't give church members, church staff a lot of opportunity to just be fun and silly and have a good time. So I feel like that's a big part of the vision of what we're doing here.
Yeah, and that's kind of the brain thing, the plan that I had in my brain.
Well, plan is a brain thing.
That is true. The thing going forward is you can't see it right now, but there's another chair right here. And so this will probably be anywhere from 60-40. Maybe we get to 50-50 guest episodes versus solos like this, where it's just me and Stephen, where we just talk about random things. I like guests. I think guests bring a lot of energy and just nuance to what we're doing. And so I would love to always have more guests than we have solos. But the other side of that is I would love to bring in people that have some form of expertise or things that they care about, and then talk about those things. We've got a few that are lined up that are coming down the pipe that I'm really excited about, where some of them we will do activities in the actual episode. Others, we're just going to talk about random things where maybe they have a hobby or something that they're excited about, or a job that they do where we get to take a deep dive into that. But then other times we're just going to hang out and have fun and talk about it.
The only one I know about as of shooting this is probably going to be episode 2. And no spoilers here, but I feel like it sets the tone pretty well for what this is going to be.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. And so, but
I'm Stephen, by the way.
I
You
totally,
totally skipped me.
I just railroaded straight through that.
Technically, I skipped myself because you tossed it to me, and then I said something profound that had nothing to do with me.
Yes.
I'm Stephen Collier. I'm the media coordinator here at Ridgecrest. I am behind the scenes all the time. I do our AV stuff, social media, website, a little bit of IT. If it's technology, that is my field.
I was going to ask you what media coordinator actually means, because it's kind of a smorgasbord, a charcuterie board of things.
Yeah. We weren't sure what to call my position for a little while. I think personnel had to actually handle the naming of my job because
figure it out.
Yeah, because it's a whole thing. But I do feel like media coordinator is a good branding, because with all the different aspects of media that go on Sunday mornings, throughout the week, whenever, there's just a lot of it that needs to be coordinated in one direction, whether it's the creation of content, the posting of content, handling of people that do all of that stuff, like someone to coordinate that in one direction. And that's basically what I do. So I handle our AV team. I am part of our AV team. I handle any, I don't create all of our social media content, but I manage the posting of it.
Right.
Without like any kind of music or background noise. I don't know if we're going to have that in the episode, but I'm boring myself.
We can add in a background noise just to when you start talking.
Yeah,
just
maybe some sound effects.
Elevator music.
Yeah,
style.
some cartoon noises.
I do have a Rodecaster that we can use that has built-in sound effects.
We may need
we
that.
Can just, and they're preset. There's like 8 that are preset, and it's like applause, laughter, crickets, and then we can add other ones.
I'm 100% for that if you don't get to push the buttons, because you would cricket me every single time.
I would never do that.
You'd hit yourself with the applause 100% of the time.
What would be one? I would applaud myself a lot. Yeah. What is one thing that either you're excited about, like that we could do with this, or like you think would be like if we could like do blank? What would it be?
So, one thing that I said when introducing myself, like a minute ago, just to refresh your memory, I'm behind the scenes a lot.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like there are a lot of, there's a significant portion of the church body that just knows my name or doesn't even know who I am. They just know there's an AV team on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, and someone leads it. So something that I'm excited about is potentially getting other Ridgecrest members on here that I get to just meet and hang out with and learn about. And it's kind of like a backdoor way for me to get to interact with people that I normally don't get to see.
I think I'm really excited about getting people on here that aren't normally in front of the camera. It's both. So like having Greg, which if you don't know Greg, if you only know Greg from online, you can look in our YouTube channel, and weekly he has a choir talks where he does like it's a video devotional
it's a video devotion.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah. He takes his devotion he gives the choir every Wednesday, and he packages that for everyone.
Right. And if you know Greg in person, you know that Greg is so much more than just a devotional writer. He has a very big personality. And so having Greg on here to argue for or against Cajun food, or talk about why he thinks LSU is the greatest college that's ever existed, doing things like that I think would be really interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if this is like public knowledge also, but Greg is low-key one of the funniest people I know in my entire life. I call him a comedic assassin because you never see him coming, but it's too late by the time you start laughing, you're done.
And because when he laughs, he doesn't make a noise. He gets this really big smile, and he goes,
yeah,
and it's hysterical.
He'll get you just by laughing.
It does. He gets me all the time.
Yeah.
So letting people see other sides to people, because a lot of our church members, if you're in the different ministries of staff members or key lay leaders, just people that don't work at the church but attend the church, a lot of people know them, but there's a lot of people who don't know them. If you're not in their ministry, if you're not in their kind of sphere, And so kind of getting people to see the other side of them and have fun is, I think, exciting. The other side of that coin is almost the exact opposite, where I'm excited to get some people who I think are interesting or who I think are funny and bring them in. And so this could be church members, this could be other ministers at other churches. Most of the, if you're watching this from the get-go, it's because you are a part of our Ridgecrest family. And so you obviously know who I am. You most likely know who Stephen is, if not because you know him, because you point and yell at him when stuff goes wrong. And so, I mean,
I always point and yell when stuff goes wrong, but they never applaud when things go right. It's crazy.
Never. But there's a lot of people that I think we don't know. Like, y'all don't know different youth pastors for the most part. You don't know. There may be someone who maybe sits back left in the sanctuary, and you sit front right, and you don't know who they are at all. And our church is so full of really interesting people. So I'm excited to get to kind of showcase some of that and see, what they do, what's exciting, but also like watch them play a board game or watch them eat random foods and judge it. So
yeah, we talked about this before we started rolling, but the idea, I love board games. I love like cooperative card games. The idea of doing that in this format is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be good, but I would love to try it.
Well, when I found out that when Spotify started releasing video podcasts, and obviously YouTube has done video since inception, it made me really excited.
That came out in 2010. I think they started doing that a few years before.
What?
The Inception movie.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Inception's on YouTube.
Yes.
So that's kind of its own little Inception.
Depends on how you define what Inception is.
Yeah, there's the movie
Inception would define Inception as the planting of an idea in someone's mind without them knowing the origin, thinking they came up with it themselves.
That movie confused me. I wouldn't have even been able
That is in my top 5 favorite movies.
I like the movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Inception is one of the movies that I would say it's really good. I'll never watch it again. And I can list many of those. Avatar. I thought it was a great movie. I'll never watch it again.
I've never seen Avatar.
Did you watch the second one?
No.
Apparently it's like it made more money than anything ever. It like set records. It like blew Avatar 1 out of the water, which is pun intended because it's all about water. The second one.
That's pretty good. Did it actually blow it out of the water, or did you just really want to get
No, I really think it did really a lot better. It made more money maybe opening weekend, but I think it made more money across the board.
Which is fascinating to me because, again, I've not seen the movie, but that film had zero impact on anything other than the box office. Like people weren't affected by Pandora or Avatar or any of that kind of stuff.
Look behind you.
I love it.
That I feel like
that picture already played once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're looping it.
We're looping, yeah.
I feel like it made a difference to somebody, which that's always the case. You're always going to have the cult fandom who is obsessed with it.
Yeah, but like Samwise Gamgee, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, Lord of the Rings characters that are classics.
Name another one.
Faramir, son of Denethor.
Yep.
I could name the entire fellowship, but I'm not going to out myself as that much
dwarf?
of a
Gimli.
Gimli, son of Gloin.
I knew it was between Gimli and Dimly. I knew it wasn't Dimly.
Dimly is not the name of a dwarf, but all of his characters iconic. Who's talking about Jake Sully?
You knew his name straight up.
Because I've had this conversation with people before. That's the only reason I know his name, is because I had to look it up so I could prove a point.
What? I'm not disagreeing with you at all. That's why it's on my list of like, it's a great movie. I'll never watch it again.
Yeah. I feel like, they've got Pandora at Animal Kingdom at Disney.
No.
Well, they have that.
Because this is something that we're going to talk about soon, is that I am not a Disney guy.
Yeah.
Like
I married into it.
Yeah.
And the parks are cool, but Pandora is one of the lands at Disney, and there's a ride there called Flight of Passage where you're like flying one of the dragon things. It's super cool.
Because that was in the movie.
It was.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But that's probably the most I've ever been impacted by anything James Cameron ever made.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
Now that's a tougher take.
Well, no. Did he do Terminator? He did Terminator.
Yes.
Okay, Terminator 2 was good. Other than that, no.
What else? Just name all some movies that James Cameron did.
Titanic.
Dude, Titanic is also on my list of great movie. I'll never watch it again.
It's not a great movie.
You watch your mouth.
The best part of the movie.
Don't say when they died.
I'm not going to say that. That's kind of what I'm going to say, but not to be a jerk. The best part of the movie is when the quartet, the string quartet, was playing them over the montage of people dying. Not because people were dying. That was just a good scene.
Was that based off of something that actually happened?
Some of that stuff I've heard was based on
not like just the Titanic in general.
Just the Titanic that happened. No, I don't know. Like I feel like that's something you like if you heard that was based on like a historic recollection.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
I was listening to something. It was a random podcast, but they were talking about being prepared, and they were talking about how since the Titanic, it was, as we all know, it was unsinkable. And so, but they still had the lifeboats and the big cranes that lowered them. I don't know the names of those. They actually have a name.
Big cranes.
What?
Big cranes.
Big cranes. BC. But the crew did the absolute less than minimum safety training. I don't know what the actual word, like life-saving training. Normally there's exit strategy and protocol for how you get people off the boat. They work the BCs, the cranes, to get the boats down. It's very efficient, and it gets as many people off the boat as possible. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, it was absolute chaos. And what actually happened, they said, according to this podcast, I don't know if this is true or not, don't fact check us, is part of the crew locked the third class occupants. What do you call when you are on a boat? Not sailor.
Like passengers.
Passengers.
Yeah.
There you go. Lock the third. Almost said third rate. The third class passengers, which is third class, is still pretty derogatory. In their rooms until the first and second class could get on the boats, because that's what they thought you were supposed to do. And then for the first and second class passengers who got onto the lifeboats, the crew were scared that the cranes couldn't hold the weight. So they only filled the boats up to 60 to 70% capacity. But what they didn't know was that the cranes had been checked at dock under maximum weight. There was actually a plan, but because they just weren't, they thought there's no way anything bad could happen. When it did happen, they were up a creek, so to speak.
When I think of just that whole situation, like, talk about just a constant string of bad decisions and failures. Just the story of the Titanic in general.
Oh, yeah.
Just like nothing went right.
Well, no, not at all. But it's when things snowball.
Yes.
And when panic enters things, people just make worse and worse and worse and worse decisions until there's a really big door and a girl pushes a kid off and he dies.
Did she push him off?
No, but she didn't let him on the door. She could have. They both could have fit.
Because he was a
Scoundrel.
third class.
He was third class.
Third class sailor.
That's right. She threw that big honking diamond.
Do you remember where we were before we got off on this?
I was talking about movies that I would.
You said YouTube's Inception, and then we lost the plot.
Oh, so we're going before my movies that I've seen but won't see again.
I mean, we can go wherever, but I just know that's where.
Oh, we were talking about video podcasts.
Yes.
And I can't believe I remembered this.
Good job.
My brain is firing right now. We were talking about, ever since I noticed video podcasts, which I was not by any means the first. We are not the first video podcast ever. But to me, it opens up so many possibilities, because if I'm going to watch a YouTube video, and I have very specific tastes in what I watch on YouTube or anything, it's to learn something or to see something really cool. And so I either want to see or funny things. That's probably third though. But I either want to hear people talk about something where it's either an idea or it's a conversation that I'm excited about or I'm interested in, or I want to see someone camping in the mountains or going on a trip or somewhere that's really cool. And so for me, I think it just opens up all these possibilities for us where we can compare and contrast different foods or different restaurants or different whatevers. We can talk about movies and have interesting conversations. But then it also, because it's video, and because I think a video podcast is different from like a very quick 4-minute YouTube video or a long form 15-minute video where there's like real hard cinematography where we're trying to make a video, like a product. Instead, we just get to let you guys be introduced to people. We get to introduce ourselves to you, and we get to do really cool stuff like play a board game with an overhead rig. And you get to make fun of Stephen in real time for like, why did he make this move? Or like, Logan, you're such an idiot. Or like, whatever. Or you could be yelling at your computer right now or your phone saying like, Inception is a great movie. They made a ride out of it. It's awesome.
They didn't make a ride out of Inception.
I was talking about Avatar, but
yeah,
I just combined a lot of things.
Yeah. Which a few things. One, I just want to give us a pat on the back for having that tangent we did, which I feel like was a great pitch for what this podcast is all about.
But then we went right back.
Exactly. So, well done.
Hey,
there you go.
Right there.
Two, I'm a big proponent of authenticity in any kind of content made by people or the church, or like I don't like when people are clearly being inauthentic, and it's very easy to tell. And so in everything we do here, something I always tell people when we're shooting videos or whenever Greg's doing his podcast, people hate me because I'm the guy pointing the camera at them. Like, because whenever we do like baptism videos or anything like that, people look at me like I'm like the Grim Reaper because they're terrified of me because I'm the guy with the camera. And I just tell them, just be yourself. Just the worst thing you could be in front of this camera right now is something you're not.
Right.
And so I'm a big proponent of anytime we make content like this, that it's authentic, it's genuine, and that's what we're here for. Is getting to show that side of us and also different people that will be on here. And the kind of the idea, as far as I see it, is it's like you're just here having a conversation with us.
Oh yeah, well, I'm in student ministry, and students can sniff out a poser in a second. I don't know if we even use the word poser anymore, but call it a
phony, try hard,
big fat phony, try hard, sweater, all the different things. And so I'm all for it. I think it's great. So you were talking about things that you were excited about, and we got kind of into a serious tangent. On a less serious note, things that I think would be really cool that we could do with this, because technically, to make this happen, you just need a camera and something that records audio. I think
we have a lot of those things.
Yes, my brain goes nuts when you think about like we could go to a restaurant and record a podcast. We could go if they would.
Have you ever heard of Dog Mud?
No.
It is a trying to think of where it's located. It's like a tavern. It's called Dog Mud Tavern. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons themed a little bit, where you can take board games there.
This is local?
This is local. You can take board games there. They've got video games set up. They've got good food too, but you can just go there, hang out, play a board game at the table, stuff like that. So you saying like recording at a restaurant, that's immediately where I went.
So is that like, how does that work? Because I've never been. Is it you sit at a table and you request a game, or there's like...
You can bring your own. They've got games there that you can try, but like you could walk in with a box and be like, give me a table, I have a board game.
Since it's a tavern, do you go like, hello, wench?
I don't think you say wench. I think that's probably...
A table for my crew. Me shanty? I don't... That may be a bad word.
You can try.
Is me shanty inappropriate?
Me shanty, I don't think it's inappropriate, but I don't think it's appropriate because I don't think anyone's ever said that.
True. Because in the shanty is like a house, isn't it? Like a dwelling place?
A shanty is also a song.
Oh, like a sea shanty.
Yeah, but I think a shanty is also like a rundown shelter.
But however you say it, it made no sense for me to say it in that
That
context.
is correct. You had several chances because shanty means like three things It means nothing correlating to what you just said.
Never.
No.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think we could do something like that where we just set something up and throw down. I think we could do stuff like that here. I think like you go to a Mississippi Braves game and sit in the stands and set up a camera, or there may be times where just depending on what we do audio only and we just record because it is a podcast.
Yeah.
So we may just have a running slideshow of hamsters on YouTube while we do the audio.
So that way, instead of having to look for the secret slideshow that plays every episode, it's just front and center.
And so far, we haven't gone a single episode without pointing out the secret Easter egg that is the slideshow.
I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't mentioned.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good. So I could see us doing all kinds of stuff like that. I could see us. I don't know. I think stuff like that would be really, really cool. And a lot of that stuff is very clippable. And so a lot of that can go to short form relatively easily, I think. So,
yeah. We're gonna have to look for it sometimes, but being someone that makes this kind of content occasionally, there are those moments where you're just like, okay, yeah, someone clip that. Like,
right.
We have to make that a thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is ripe for opportunities.
And so we have people in my world where like going to a Mississippi Braves game is right up their alley. Doing, I don't know, I was going to say ratings and reviews, but that's basically everybody with an opinion can do a rating and review. A lot of people from your world and your circles we could do game nights. We could do a video game stream. We could do any number of things. And so it's kind of the possibilities as we come into this are kind of, we can go wherever we want to. So I'm excited.
I was going to make a joke and be like, Braves, what is that? Is that a form of sports team? But
the funny part is that I could not care less about sports. I don't watch it. If I'm gonna care about a sports because I want to play it, but like I'll go to a live sporting event. Like I'll go to a Mississippi Braves game. Last year we took a bunch of people to a is it Dallas FC?
I don't know why you thought I'd have an answer.
It's the Dallas Major League Soccer Club. I think it's Dallas FC, but I can't remember. FC Dallas, nailed it. And that was incredible. I used to take students to like a semi-pro hockey organization that was in South Haven, which is north of us, and it was incredible because they don't care at all. The last time I went, it was right before the team shut down. There were 8 fights in the game. 8 fights in 3 periods of hockey.
That sounds wildly entertaining.
It was great. And I'm just saying, I lead really good trips to sporting events because when we went to the FC Dallas game, 1, they were playing the LA Galaxy, which is a really big team. 2, there were like total with both teams, like 9 to 10 goals scored. FC Dallas scored like 8 goals, which is unheard of in soccer. There was a record set of the youngest player to score a hat trick, which is 3 goals in a game. He was 18. Literally, I had kids on the trip that were the same age as this kid, adult, who
whippersnapper, I think is what the kids call themselves these days,
and who scored a hat trick in an MLS game, which is crazy.
That's really cool. Were there at the hockey game? Just curious. Were there more punches thrown or goals made in that hockey game?
Definitely fights.
Okay.
And what took it definitely over the edge was one of the fight. It was either the 7th fight or the 8th fight. It was towards the end. A guy got suplexed.
He did not.
As in, like, they grab jerseys and they punch. That's how hockey fights go. Somehow the dude got turned around where they're both facing the same direction. Guy grabs him over the shoulder, dumps him, and the fight was over. It was incredible.
In a hockey game.
In a semi-pro hockey game.
That is terrifying and hilarious.
The Mississippi River Kings, when they said that their team was for sale, I thought, surely we'll just buy it. Surely Ridgecrest can figure it out. It'll be called the Ridgecrest River Kings, And like, even though we're in Madison, which is right outside of Jackson in Mississippi, South Haven's 2 hours away. We'll figure it out. We'll move them down to the Coliseum. We'll do what we'll make it happen.
Did the River Kings win that match?
Yes, they destroyed.
Excellent.
It was great.
Excellent.
I never saw the River Kings lose. I went 4 times.
Did they win by points scored, or did they win by the opposing team ran out of players that weren't not hospitalized?
Well, once again, I'm not a big sports guy. We're also in the deep South, so hockey's not really my forte either. I think they were pretty good. Like, they weren't like a dynasty who won championships all the time, but like when I watched them play, they scored more than the other team. So
that's good.
In my mind,
that's good. It's typically good when you score more than the other team.
In my mind, that means they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Unless we just went as they played the worst teams ever, but I don't think that was the case. So,
thank you for explaining that to me. That
absolutely,
they were good because they scored more points. I know I don't watch sports.
It's I'm here for the people. I'm here. To
I appreciate that.
But we're just talking about different. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Can you just go and record? We wouldn't record the actual gameplay, but you can just. Can you just go into a coliseum or a arena and just record yourselves doing like a commentary? I mean, surely.
Yeah. Also, why not?
I mean, that's like you paid the ticket.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they'd police that. Everyone has phones.
Is it pirate? It's not pirating to record a if you live streamed a sporting event. Use whatever context you want. If you need to go e-gaming or whatever. I'm really just painting a picture.
I'm really not an esports person.
I know you're not.
I think esports are stupid.
But I'm painting a picture of you stereotype.
Yeah.
Because I know that you don't watch that.
I appreciate that. What's my favorite esport? What in this picture you're painting of me? What's my favorite esport?
Well, I can't be serious.
Because I don't like esports, but like of this picture you're trying to paint of me, what's my go-to?
Street Fighter.
Okay.
Which is actually a really big
It is. It is. That, you know what? Good choice.
Because here's the thinking. It's retro.
Yes.
I consider it retro.
Yes.
I mean,
it is. It's still current, but
yeah.
It's one of the oldest, I would say.
It's seemingly extremely basic and straightforward, and it may even be I've never actually played Street Fighter other than like at a movie theater arcade.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of combos. There's a lot of
nuance.
Technique, nuance. That's the word I'm looking for.
It's like playing the bass guitar. It's easy to pick up, really difficult to master.
I wouldn't know.
I played bass.
It looks dead simple. Let's be honest. Yeah. And to my ear, which I can't hear low tones very well, it just sounds like do 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 do. It just.
That's because it is.
Yeah.
If you're listening to somebody that isn't very good at it, if you listen to a bass player that knows what they're doing, beautiful.
Maybe that's what I'm missing is the level of skill needed to make it enjoyable.
Probably so.
Oh, we hit an ad. I thought on our super secret Easter egg slideshow we hit an ad, and I thought that's the weirdest thing. They put an air conditioner in the slideshow.
It's cute animals, and it was just a little cartoon man, like popping out, giving a thumbs up.
Here's the deal. So far, we've recorded 2 episodes, and in both of those this is behind the curtain for you. We've mentioned the slideshow in both episodes. Never again.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if it's going to be an Easter egg, it's an Easter egg.
Yes.
Because the first time we were like going to be real cute about it, and the guest just focused on it for 5 minutes. You'll see it when it happens. I don't have to even say who the guest was.
He would not allow us to have any secrets here.
Yes, but from now on, I don't care who's someone that's really important, and you're like you would listen to what they say.
Yeah.
No, I'm asking who would that be if we had them as a guest?
Greg O'Neill.
Yeah, you went very. I was going to go like the Secretary of State.
I thought you were saying like realistically.
You wouldn't listen to the Secretary of State if he or she were in here?
I think realistically we would not have the Secretary of State on this podcast.
Whose name is? Is that Nancy? One of us went to public school. The other one had school in his living room. So we'll figure it out later. Oh, I have to tell you a story. I have to tell you a story. It'll be fine. So on Sunday mornings, our church, the student ministry, does not do what is classically known as Sunday school. We do our small group time discussion, what you would think of as Sunday school class. We do that as a part of our Wednesday night with our worship. On Sunday mornings, we do what's called an equipping class, where we just do a very straightforward teaching on the Bible, theology, all the things. And it's a smaller class. It's just really focused, and I really enjoy the class. This is so dumb. Sunday, I'm debating whether I should tell this story.
You have to tell this story now. You have to finish it. If it's bad, I'll just cut this.
Okay, but we're not going to cut it. It'll be fine. I'm not going to use names.
Great.
But these were students in this conversation, and we were talking, and we just had graduations for our seniors. They left. I was talking to their siblings, asking about class rank, and we got on class rank, which we got on to who were the top 10 in the class. We got on to who was in the top class. This is where I'm thinking we probably should have told the story. We got on to the nationalities and ethnicities of the smartest people in the school, which led to people who hail from or have ethnicities based in Asian countries being the smartest in the school. And the fact of the matter was, the smartest people at this school all just happened to be Asian. And so I was like, okay, great. I was about to move on, like tip of my tongue. We were about to get started in the lesson. And a girl goes, hey, were they Asian or were they Chinese? And I'm thinking, like, why do we have to be specific about whether they're Chinese, Korean, whatever? And I was like, I don't think it matters. We'll just, Asian, I think, encompasses all the Asian people groups. And she goes, well, no, Chinese and Asian people are different. And I said, excuse me? And this girl, who will not be named, said, yeah, Asians are darker than Chinese people. And I'm like, but that's just what? And another student kind of perked up, and I think he's going to put this girl, kindly let her know what the deal is. He goes, yeah, China's like India. They're not a part of Asia. and I was like, what? He goes, yeah, India, China, Asia. And I said, Asia's a continent. India and China are countries. And they go, yeah, but they're countries that are not a part of Asia.
They were in the right class. They really need to be equipped.
And sure enough, I'm looking around, and they're like, the students are like, not. They're like, yeah.
All of them were nodding.
No, I had one girl who was like, am I surrounded by kindergartners? She literally was like, what?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? And I said, we know that there are 7 continents, and that within the continents
It's just turned into a geography lesson.
Oh, just wait.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Within the continents are, however many countries there are. I think there's like 193. Somebody fact check me. And they were just looking at me like, what? So we have a whiteboard. I get on the whiteboard and I draw just basic shapes of the 7 continents. And I'm like, for example, here's North America. Within North America is Canada, United States of America, Central America. Some kid goes, like Mexico. Yes, like Mexico. And I was like, and then you have South America and Africa and Europe and Asia and Australia, Antarctica. Those are the 7 continents. Within these continents are all the plethora of countries. And they went, oh. And a girl went, I only count 6. And I was looking and I was like, Europe, Asia. And they went, but it's the same piece of land. This is not a joke.
I believe you.
I'm not hyperbolizing any of this.
Yeah.
And I go, no, it's one landmass, but 2 continents. There's a line more or less straight down the left third or whatever. And she went, oh, so there's 7. And I was like, so when we talk about continents, we're talking about the 7 countries within the continents. Chinese people are actually, in fact, Asians. And we wrapped up by the kid who said India said, honestly, I think all that was during COVID, and we just didn't learn that in COVID. And I said, dude, you're in high school. That means that you were like in 9th grade when COVID happened. You learned continents in elementary school. It was incredible.
How much lesson did you actually get to?
So that was at about 9:30, and it goes from 9 to 10:15. So they're very used to that. The reason why this is going to work so well is because they can set me off in a second by just asking a random question.
Yeah.
And so our icebreakers are usually like, Logan, how do you feel about Arby's or something? And I'll go off on it. And so it can be anything. So they're very used to that. But usually it's more of like do you like the mountains or do you like the beach? And why is the beach terrible? Or something. It wasn't like, China's not a part of Asia. It was incredible.
I believe every second of that. That's wild.
I have there's another story that won't take near as long. When me and my wife were dating, she said, I can't wait to travel. Like when we get married, we were dating and we were ready to get married and all this stuff. And she said, I just can't wait so we can like travel and we can go places. She was like, because she's been to a lot of places in Europe. And I was like, well, where else would you like to go? And she's like, well, I would love to go to like she wants to go back to Rome, Australia. And she's like, I'd love to go to Neverland. And I'm like, haha, that's really funny. And she goes, well, I mean, obviously not like the Peter Pan place, but like the real Neverland. And I went, what? She said, yeah, like, how the place is based off of an actual place, over there by Sweden and Finland. I said, you mean Norway? And she said, oh, dang, please don't tell anybody I said that. And now
here we are.
A decade later, we are still talking about it.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's good. We won't talk about any of my shortcomings, but I'll be happy to talk about other people's shortcomings.
Yeah. That's good.
So before we move on, any other geography questions that you need to ask?
I'm terrible at geography. So no.
Are you that terrible though?
I'm not that terrible, but I'm bad. Like I'm bad. I don't even know. That's a weakness of mine.
We did on a Wednesday night because I had students talking a big game because they said they know every state. I said, if I put a blank map with borders, of course, you could name every state. And they said, yeah. So I gave them 2 weeks. I said, you study for 2 weeks and we'll do it as a game. And I'll give a gift card to whoever, like the first 2 people who bring it up there.
Yeah.
And a total of about 3 people could do it. And this was out of about 45 people.
And they were all talking a big game.
No, there were some that were like, please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
So that could be something we do. We get a guest in here, someone who thinks they can talk a big game, and we do a speed round of fastest person to fill in the United States state map.
Out of the Ridgecrest staff, and if this is better to not, this is a question that probably shouldn't be answered.
I'll use names.
Well, I was going to say you could just say yourself as a cop-out, but who do you think talks the biggest game out of the Ridgecrest staff?
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say who could actually name the 50 states.
No, that's not interesting enough. Who do you think thinks the highest of themselves in the Ridgecrest staff?
Well, probably me, actually.
Yeah.
But for the sake of you said that was a cop-out, we're not saying that.
Yeah.
The person who thinks the highest of themselves.
Or just talks the biggest game, because you can talk a big game and not actually think highly of yourself.
I still think it's probably me.
I think it is.
I'm trying to think of who the other person would be. It's in my mind, my gut reaction was our senior pastor and our stewardship director.
Yeah. I was going to say stewardship.
He does talk a big game, but his is kind of like not slapstick, but it's kind of like, oh, we're all just joking around. I can do whatever.
Yeah.
Me and the senior pastor are kind of both like, I could actually do that.
Yeah.
They're like, just name anything. Like, ride a unicycle. I've never ridden a unicycle. I could probably figure it out.
I don't think you could ride a unicycle, personally.
I think if you gave me a week with a unicycle, I could go from A to B.
I think with your height, you are going into that activity with a lot of disadvantages.
Because I'm top heavy.
Yes. And you're very, very tall.
Yeah, but they make the seat that goes up. I mean,
does that help?
Did you know at our college, there was a circus arts class where you learned how to juggle and ride a unicycle?
What was that?
It was literally called circus arts.
What was that under? Like,
oh, who knows? It was an elective.
Okay.
What is PE under? Because in college we had to take PE classes. Shout out Mississippi College.
When I was there, I don't know where they are now, but you know this, but I was a communication major, and all of my classes were in the basement of the musical arts building.
I think they still are.
That wouldn't surprise me.
What were your 2 PE classes? Because you had to have 2 classes, or did you get out of them?
I took a kinesiology class.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was not fun. That's the only one I remember.
I did I did water volleyball, which is you put a volleyball net over a pool and you play with the beach ball. It was incredible. There was a co-ed class, which made single Logan very excited. And the second one that I did was called deep water running.
I've heard about that one.
So it is a form of water aerobics where you wear a flotation belt, but this one is literally you just run in the water. So like you're running, but you're moving. How do we do that? You're probably moving legitimately at this speed.
Yeah. But
so
like in your head, you're like sprinting.
You're not sprinting, but it would be the equivalent of me like doing a fast jog.
Yeah.
Or what I would consider like running. Like if you're going to run like a 5K, you're running about like that pace.
Yeah.
And you're moving inches.
I'm legitimately button. We're black screen for a second.
Blacked out.
I'm legitimately trying to remember what my other PE course was.
But there were people that like did running,
yeah,
weightlifting, karate. Like to me, if you did an actual like PE class like running, like you can run whenever. Maybe if you were already training for like a marathon and this was just like a class, but you had an opportunity to take, like in my case, I was like trying to date people, and so I was excited about co-ed water classes. But like if you were like you could learn karate or at least like get to wear the karate outfit like twice a week for free. Well, it wasn't for free, but you were already paying for college. Like how fun would that be?
Yeah, I definitely didn't take karate. If I did, it went so horribly that's a spot in my memory that I have completely eradicated because I don't remember any. I hope no one from the Mississippi College board watches this because they'll check my records and be like, "Oh, he didn't take a PE class. Guess we have to take his diploma back."
Nah, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
I did it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
All right. As we wrap up, I want to give them something. Like I want us to really go to town on something.
Okay.
So, my microphone.
Are you looking for like something for them to do or just some kind of substance?
I want to give them something.
Okay.
To the equivalent of like 5 movies that you would watch that you thought were good but you'll never watch again. Or you did say you had an icebreaker. I never did.
Wasn't really an icebreaker, but I'll ask this, and you can decide whether or not this is better or worse than the 5 movies question. Before I came here, it's been a hectic day, and part of what made it more frustrating, not necessarily more hectic, was there's not a lot of floor space in my house, and so there are obstacles, especially with the 2 dogs
Not like
that I have.
you live in a shack, but of the house that you have, the floor is usually filled with things.
That is correct. We have a pretty nice house, but there's just not a lot of open space.
Correct.
So when I was getting everything together to come here, I had to get my son over to my parents because he's teething right now. He'd be pretty disruptive if he was in this episode. I'm probably going to bring him into an episode. I think it'd be fun.
Teething's the worst.
Yeah. And we didn't even know he was teething till he had 2. So like, I guess the first 2 were fine, but these next however many are just cutting.
Well, teething is bad when they're just teething in general, but then it goes up a notch when it cuts because it's just uncomfortable. Yeah. And some kids, babies, whatever you want to call them, toddlers, will run a fever because they're teething. Yeah. Which, especially if you're like a first-time parent, you're like, he has a fever, he's gonna die, and it's like, no, he's just uncomfortable and he's cutting.
Thankfully, and I think a lot of that comes from, I'll get to my question eventually, I promise. But a lot of that comes from, I think, my parents have raised so many kids, and I was part of, because my parents have adopted children. I was a part of raising
biological siblings and adopted.
Yes, I'm the youngest biological, but with all the kids that we've adopted, I got to be part of that raising experience of them. And my parents got to the point where, like, they'd done this so many times to where a kid could bump their head or whatever, and they're just like, let me see it. Yeah, walk it off. You're fine. And so, like, I haven't had those first-time parenting experiences to where, like, something happens and I'm like, this is it. He's dead. Like, I've lost my child. But I think that's probably why is the experience I had with my parents.
And some of that, though, is your father's just general disposition.
Yes.
His way of looking at life is kind of like, you okay? You're fine. Let's move.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But anyway,
he would be fun to bring on.
That's a great idea. I don't know what we talk with him about.
I would talk to him about why. I want to talk to him about his kids. Not like you, but like, to me, it is rare for someone to have multiple kids who are. I mean, how old were you when your first adoptive sibling came around? I almost said came to town.
Came to town. I want to say, okay, the first one, who is turning 20 this year, and she just graduated with a 2-year college degree, and she's going off to college.
Where's she going?
Delta.
Nice.
Yeah. I want to say we got her in 04. So I would have been in the 4th grade, probably.
Yeah. So, and maybe I'm just so not in the adoption foster care world because we haven't adopted or fostered any. And so to me, it seems rare that someone would have multiple children, raise them. I mean, you were the youngest and you were in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And then not just like adopt one kid, but just
keep going.
Yeah. I mean, when we're going to do the episode, but when we actually get into it, or we get into your family, if you want to share more about family stuff, like, to me, that just seems rare. And he may sit down and go, that's not rare at all. There's a whole subset of us that you come to it late, you feel called to it, and then you just rock and roll.
It's definitely a matter of being called to it.
Yeah.
Because my dad's told the story a lot, and so I won't rob him of it, but there definitely was one of those moments where my mom had felt called to it. My dad wasn't about that yet, and there was a moment where they were at a conference, and he felt that calling immediately, and there was no going back. So it definitely was that kind of situation.
And do you think that your siblings would call themselves Asian, or do you think they would, or I guess it'd be Asian Americans now? Or they're like, no, we're definitely not Asian because Asia's a continent.
The 3 oldest are really into, well, 2 of them are really into K-pop, and they're into anime, and they've even said they're just like we're such a stereotype, but they are Chinese, so they're into Korean stuff and Japanese stuff, have no interest in Chinese stuff whatsoever.
So they're
Asian,
but they're not according to my student. Yeah. They're Chinese American, or they're Chinese American.
Yeah,
but they're Asian influenced.
They're Asian at heart, but they're Chinese.
We're walking a fine line here. If you don't have context from 20 minutes ago, this sounds real bad.
Yeah. If you've skipped ahead in this episode, please go back before you make any judgment calls.
Anyway, your story.
So, I kicked the crap out of something in my house by accident.
Not one of your dogs.
No. It was something that, like, I didn't notice till I was driving to my parents' house to take Peter. I was bleeding. Like my little toe was bleeding, and it was one of those things
Oh,
where
it
it was
does
like,
have
cool.
a Band-Aid on
Yeah,
it.
it
How
does. A little
fun.
Band-Aid. And it was at the front, so like the most awkward place to put a Band-Aid, you know?
Yes.
So my question, complete disappointment after ever. My question was, what's the worst like injury like that you've had at home where you've just been kind of like walking around and like you stubbed your toe or you like tripped? Like, what's the worst experience like that you've had?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say experience that like I didn't know about until later because I don't have a lot of those. I have a lot where like stuff like kicking door frames has happened to me a lot.
Yeah.
There's two that come to mind. One, when I was a child, yeah, we've been giving free ads this whole video.
Yeah.
One, when I was younger, I was chasing my brother into his room and I was running. It was like the hallway, our hallway at home was like an L. So you went forward, then left, and then took another left into his room. So it was just a big U. And we were running full speed, which for me and my brother was not that fast. But for us, it was 100%. And as I was making that second left into his room, my left pinky toe clipped the door frame.
Yeah.
And I thought I died.
I'm glad you call it your pinky toe because I also call it my pinky toe.
What is it? That's what it's called.
I didn't. I was never sure of that. Like I just always assumed that it was like the little toe because you don't call your big toe your thumb toe. You know, you call it your big toe, right?
Throwback to our last episode we recorded about a certain celebrity. So I kicked that thing and thought like my toe is gone.
Yeah.
Like screaming, bloody murder. I was probably 12, in that weird age range, and that was horrific.
Yeah.
There's been other things that we've done that were fun. We used to slide down the stairs in nylon sleeping bags.
Nice.
But we had a closet at the foot of the stairs. I actually went through the door. The one
There's
that
a Logan shaped hole in the door.
it was literally like the size of my feet. So imagine if you're a door, these just came
Imagine you're a door.
Yes. The other one, actually, this is going to tie in great. I was at Mississippi College. I was leaving the dorms, and I was walking. For people that don't know, won't make any context. For you, you understand this.
Yes.
I was walking from Newman's. I was walking across the parking lot of the Healthplex,
Mm-hmm.
and there's those big stairs that come. You can either walk up the road that angles up, or you can walk up the stairs. I was walking to class. No, I was walking to get breakfast before class. I was wearing flip-flops, and I was walking. These are just your normal concrete steps, and I don't know how else to do this. So I was walking, and as I took a step, the step clipped the flip-flop, so the flip-flop bent down,
Mm-hmm.
and my right big toe just scraped right on that corner. And it was one of those where I was like, oh, that kind of hurts. And I looked down, and the whole bottom of my big toe, the skin had flopped back.
Yeah.
And so I just looked at it, and it's kind of one of those things where like as soon as it happens, there's no blood, but then
Yep.
it just immediately just starts
Gushing.
It wasn't gushing like arterial, but it was bleeding a lot. And I had that moment where I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because I had a roommate who was sleeping. I was like, do I do that? Do I go? Like, what do I do? And so I just went to the cafeteria and was tracking blood everywhere.
Yeah. Ask for a side of Band-Aids with your eggs.
No, I went into the bathroom
Oh, yeah.
and wrapped my toe in paper towels, and just by like the pressure of my toe, smushed it into my flip flop.
Yep.
Limped and got food, ate at the cafeteria, just all the time squeezing my toe to the floor, and then went back, and I think I got a Band-Aid afterwards. But I was like,
That's some priorities.
it was priorities.
Yeah. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
I tore up that MC breakfast. It was not high. It wasn't the highest quality, but it was included in my food plan, and so I tore it up.
Yeah. I have a story of a horrible toe-related injury that I suffered when I was a child, but we are 10 seconds from an hour.
Are we really?
We are. We didn't think we'd make 30 minutes, but
I love it.
yeah. So I can save that for another time, or I can tell it now. It's not a pleasant story, but it's on topic. It's on brand.
Let's save it.
Okay, we'll save it.
All right.
Just remind me.
Remember, toe and pain.
I'll know exact. That's a story I've carried with me long enough to where all you would have to say is toe, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that one time.
That confirms to me that I want to save it because I want to have a full discussion about it.
Perfect.
If it's one that you've carried in your bones,
It is one that I'm honestly surprised that I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard it already, but it's a good story. Like it's to the point where in college, for public speaking, our first speech was, what was the worst day of your life? It was either worst day or best day, and I was like, oh, worst day, and it was this story.
okay.
So,
Write it down.
Yeah.
Next episode, I don't care who the guest is, but we're doing worst day of your life.
excellent. That's
But
good.
like, not really worst day. I mean, we don't. If it's like super tragic,
Yeah.
because I have an actual worst day of my life, but then I have like another worst day that's just like super embarrassing.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
All right. If you have made it this long, one, congratulations. We thought this was going to be 30 minutes. We're going to have music running over whenever Stephen talks because he thinks it's boring. And
Or cartoon sound effects.
here's what we want you to do. This whole show is powered by Ridgecrest Baptist Church. We are in their studio. We are in their church. We both work for this church. And so part of why we want to do this is to kind of bring you into our lives, but also kind of be a gateway, that's the wrong term, to all of our other stuff. If you look, especially if you're on YouTube, if you look all over the place, and you'll see different videos. You'll see choir talks. You'll see live streams from the sermon. You'll see other podcasts that we've done in the past. And all of those are great. Some of them
And
are,
student ministry Wednesday nights.
and we also live stream student ministry with me. We're going into the summer. So if you're watching this pretty real time, there won't be anything for a few months. But anyway, we have backlogs, so many backlogs. We would really love for you to kind of look around and see what other stuff we've got. We've got stuff that is very like devotional. If that's something that you want or need, like a video devotional, choir talks is great. If you want kind of some after the message things where our pastors would kind of talk deeply about the Bible and things, we have stuff for that too. If you want to hear us talk about toes, this is where you just need to stay. So we're
Is this
excited.
going to become a podcast where like there's a show called Psych. Love that show. But there's like a pineapple in every episode.
You realize that Psych is in my top 5 favorite shows ever?
Really? Oh, we're going
Love
to talk about that then. But like, are toes going to be this podcast? This
Never.
podcast is pineapple.
Never. Never.
Okay, good.
Never.
You say that, but we're going to have gone 3 episodes in a row where toes are very specifically mentioned.
I was so bad at finding the pineapple. You know, some of them were easy.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but they said like it's in every episode, and I was like, it's not in every episode.
It's not in every episode. It's in vast majority,
Yeah.
but there are some where they're not.
Anyway, Stephen, that'll be your last word unless you want to add something different.
This is my only hat that I own. Thank you for asking.
It's your own.